A system explanation appears on screen, introducing Auto Skill. It describes a special skill that protects the user and automatically attacks any enemy that gets too close. At first glance, it seems like a modest ability, but it shows its true worth in the bloodiest, most brutal battles against monsters. The narration adds that this is the story of a super lazy guy who, overnight, ended up with the most powerful weapon of all. Cut to a messy apartment. Osamu Higanbana, 26 years old, lies slumped on the floor with headphones around his neck, staring at his phone. He groans, saying he's sleepy. He mutters that he doesn't feel like doing anything. Osamu says it all started about 2 weeks ago. Osamu says he used to work at an IT company as a subcontractor for system development. Working on holidays and pulling over 120 hours of overtime a month had become normal. Even though it was tough, Osamu says he could somehow keep going, as long as he had Yamada grinding alongside him. Yamada complains that he missed the last train again and hasn't been home in a whole week. Osamu reacts, saying it's insane. Osamu remembers staring at his screen while thinking about the deadline being tomorrow, realizing they had no choice but to push the project through right now. He looks over at Yamada, noticing how exhausted he seems, and realizes Yamada has hit his breaking point. After realizing Yamada's condition, he calls him, and then he gives Yamada some advice by saying that they are in the tight spot right now, but he can still hang out in this hard condition because he is with him. Afterwards, he goes on by saying they started together in this company, which makes them buddies. He suggests they finish the project together, then go out and get absolutely hammered. Osamu remembers that moment and wonders why things ended up like this. Even now, after already quitting the company, he says he still can't stop thinking about the same thing. Osamu admits he didn't notice how much Yamada was changing. Yamada smiles and tells him he's right, saying he'll try to do something about it. Later, Osamu hears the news. They found Yamada dead at home. He had hanged himself. Osamu calls out Yamada's name in shock. His hands tremble as guilt floods in. He tells himself it was all because of him, because he said the wrong thing. After that, Osamu burns through his savings while living a completely degenerate life. He swears he'll never push himself like that again. Ever since then, drowning in despair, Osamu loses all will to work. Osamu notices something strange on his phone. An unfamiliar item suddenly appears in his inventory. Confused, he studies the screen for a moment before deciding to delete it, worried it might cause a glitch. As he holds the phone, Osamu reflects on how video games have always been his escape from reality. Just as he confirms the action, a strange sensation hits him, and he instinctively freezes. In the next moment, Osamu finds himself sitting on a stone path inside a quiet garden pavilion. Birds fly overhead, petals drift through the air, questioning whether this is some kind of dream. Before he can make sense of it, a calm presence makes itself known nearby, leaving Osamu frozen in place as he realizes he may not be alone. A mysterious girl suddenly appears before Osamu, smiling brightly as flower petals drift through the air around her. Osamu stares at the girl in disbelief, taking in her calm expression and delicate appearance. She introduces herself as a goddess, leaving Osamu even more confused. The goddess explains that she will grant Osamu a skill, casually treating the situation as if it were routine. Osamu, clearly exhausted and overwhelmed, leaves the decision to her, which completely shocked her. She studies him for a moment, and she goes on by saying that normal people usually ask for one-shot kill or unlimited money. In the end, she decides to give him an auto skill because his face looks utterly exhausted, to which he gets angry at her by saying he was born this way. Afterwards, she completes the contract by saying his name. A strange light surrounds him, signaling that the process has begun. Osamu takes in the wide landscape around him. Rolling hills, quiet rivers, and endless trees. A strange title appears in his vision, marking the area as a low-level field. The scenery feels eerily familiar, like something pulled straight from a game he used to play. He tries to convince himself it's only a dream, but the details feel far too real. He notices the girl from earlier nearby and recalls her name. Suddenly, the goddess leans in too close, startling Osamu. Both of them panic for a moment and tumble awkwardly onto the grass. Osamu jumps back defensively, unsure whether she's attacking. At the same time, the goddess reacts just as dramatically, crawling forward in shock before freezing in embarrassment. Once things calm down, the goddess explains why Osamu was brought to this world. He has a mission waiting for him. She casually outlines the idea while sitting on the ground, completely lacking any divine composure. Osamu listens half-heartedly, already exhausted by everything that's happened. While she talks about quests and monsters, he simply admits that he's too tired to care right now and just wants to rest. A sudden presence breaks the quiet forest. A massive boar-like monster emerges, its body tense and eyes locked onto Osamu and the goddess. The creature radiates hostility. Osamu freezes as recognition hits. This isn't just some animal. He's seen monsters like this in games before. Fear sets in as the beast lowers its stance, preparing to rush. For a split second, Osamu hesitates. The goddess steps forward, forcing herself to stay calm despite the incoming threat. Osamu realizes the monster is heading straight for her. Instinct kicks in, he knows he has to act. Memories flood back. The exhaustion, the failures, the moment he stopped trying. Yet even now, something inside him moves. He then suddenly stands in front of the goddess by trying to help her, and this shocked her. Osamu suddenly feels his body move on its own. Before he can even process what's happening, a system-like notification flashes into existence. Osamu's expression hardens. His eyes sharpen, and his breathing steadies. The charging monster closes in. Osamu doesn't flinch. All of the sudden, two fireball attacks that monster automatically. The impact tears through the air, sending the monster flying violently across the field. Osamu stands frozen in place, staring at what he just did. His body keeps moving, reacting, striking on its own. The goddess watches closely, her eyes shining with excitement. Osamu feels overwhelmed, confused, amazed. His auto skill is still active, unleashing power without his input. The dust settles where the monster crashed. Osamu slowly turns, trying to understand what just happened. Goddess then started to explain on what just happened, which is he used water magic and fire magic to attack that monster using his auto skill. After realizing it, MC thoughts to himself, it's unbelievable. In the end, he crashes down. The adrenaline fades, replaced by exhaustion. He convinces himself this must all be some strange dream. But unlike any dream before, his body feels warm, his mind feels quiet, and for the first time in a long while, he feels like he's truly resting. The goddess quickly moves to support him, helping him settle into a safer position, realizing just how drained he is after that sudden battle. But that made her to get flustered, since he is using her legs as a pillow. A wooden framework rises from the ground almost instantly. Planks, beams, and materials assemble themselves into a small cabin, using her building skill to create shelter. As the structure finishes forming, small copies of the goddess begin appearing around the construction, energetically helping finish the cabin. Osamu can barely keep up with what he's seeing, and he goes to sleep while thinking to himself that he can see that girl's smaller versions. After a while, he wakes up and realizes there is a roof above his head. He then suddenly questions on where he is, to which that girl says she built it using her ability. With the blushing face, she explains that he got unconscious because he used his magic for the first time. He then suddenly gets relieved by saying he actually managed to protect her. A sudden glow surrounds Osamu's body. Light pulses through him as a system notification appears, signaling his level has increased. He stares at himself, shocked by the sensation flooding through his limbs. After seeing it, she gets really excited for him and she blushingly says that he just leveled up. At that moment, realization hits him. This isn't a dream. He was brought to this world for a reason, and now he's officially taken his first step. Osamu finally asks the questions that have been building inside him. Who she really is, and what his purpose in this world might be. The girl smiles brightly and repeats what she already told him. She's a goddess, but when it comes to his mission, even she doesn't have all the answers. She only knows that clues await in a place called Jarvis, the Iron City, their next destination. As they sit together inside the cabin, Osamu admits something surprising. Even though having a mission sounds like a hassle, now that he actually has the power to help someone, he doesn't hate the idea. The goddess teases him, calling him lazy and pointing out that he doesn't even understand his own auto skill yet. Still, she honestly didn't expect him to save her. That moment stays with him. The goddess turns toward him with a soft smile. She thanks him by name. For Osamu, that simple word hits harder than any battle ever could. He quietly realizes how long it's been since anyone last thanked him. And for the first time in a very long while, he feels seen. As they prepare to leave, Osamu casually asks how they're even supposed to reach Jarvis. She then blushingly explains to him that they are already on their way. The cabin suddenly rumbles. The entire house starts moving. Osamu freezes in shock. The goddess calmly explains that this is also part of his auto skill. Meanwhile, outside, muscular mini-helpers lift the whole cabin and begin marching forward like nothing is strange. Osamu can only stare. His house is literally walking. Inside, the goddess looks thrilled. To her, this is exciting. She reminds him that this journey will continue until the day he, the ultimate lazy hero, saves the world. And she promises something important. She'll guide him every step of the way. As the cabin travels peacefully across the land, Osamu reflects on everything so far. This world feels almost identical to the MMORPG he once played, Sacrifice Online. He still isn't even sure if he truly died. All he knows is that he's been reincarnated into a game-like world. Along with that came several reincarnation perks, including one called Auto Skill. And just like that, Osamu begins understanding how his auto skill really works. Any monster detected within a 5-meter radius is immediately targeted. The system automatically selects and casts the most effective spell. On top of that, his starting magic is already absurdly powerful. Back in the game, something similar existed as Auto Mode, used mainly for lazy grinding or farming low-drop items. But in this world, it's treated as a full-fledged skill. Next comes something only Osamu can see, a floating status panel. When he checks it, he nearly panics. He's already reached level 40. In the original game, hitting that level normally took an entire week of non-stop grinding. He managed it in just a few hours. The realization hits hard. This isn't normal. This is completely broken. Finally, Osamu reflects on the girl traveling with him. She's Messiah, the goddess guiding him. She seems to know exactly what his role in this world is, but for some reason, she refuses to tell him. After using his skills in his sleep, she notices he must be starving and prepares food for him. Apparently, using a building skill here also lets her create things through some mysterious power. And just like that, Osamu finds himself eating homemade food in a world that still feels unreal. As Osamu eats, he quietly observes Messiah. For now, she doesn't seem like a bad person. He decides he'll learn what kind of person she truly is as their journey continues. Besides, she's surprisingly cute. With that thought, Osamu feels a small sense of comfort. Their first destination is finally set. The city called Jarvis, a lively place that once grew rich through mining. Osamu leans back, feeling strangely optimistic. He can't wait to arrive. Jarvis comes into view, a city where fire and iron once burned through the night. Old stone streets stretch ahead, lined with worn buildings that hint at a powerful past. Standing at the entrance, Osamu hesitates. He double-checks the location, wondering if they somehow made a mistake. But the sign confirms it. They're in the right place. Jarvis. Messiah quietly watches him, her expression unreadable. Messiah explains that just a few years ago, Jarvis was a thriving city, powered by weapon production from iron mines. But now, none of that remains. Osamu notices the dusty air and rundown streets, realizing this world isn't exactly like the game. As they walk through the rusted city, Osamu quietly wonders why he was brought to this world at all. Spotting an open shop, Messiah leads the way inside. Messiah suggests they listen to what the people there have to say. Osamu agrees and steps into the shop. immediately surrounded by rows of weapons lining the walls. He pauses, taking it all in. Osamu feels that this place is completely different from the rest of the city, especially with so many weapons on display. Messiah encourages him to gear up, reminding him that even with auto skill, he can't keep fighting in ordinary clothes. Nearby, a shopkeeper notices their presence, surprised that anyone still comes to this area, while Osamu senses something strange about the atmosphere. The shopkeeper explains that ever since the disaster began, business has nearly disappeared. He admits that having good stock doesn't matter when there's no one left to sell to. Messiah asks if he still considers himself the owner of the shop, but the man hesitates, saying things haven't been the same since that incident started. Osamu learns what truly destroyed Jarvis. A work robot suddenly went out of control and transformed into a powerful boss monster deep inside the mine. It began attacking people, stealing their livelihoods and forcing residents to flee the city day by day. Messiah quietly points out that despite everything, some people still choose to stay. That guy then calls themselves as fools who can't bring themselves to abandon their home. Osamu reflects on their stubbornness. Osamu realizes this city hasn't completely given up yet, so he says to himself that it's in pain, and she notices it and calls his name, and then all of a sudden he asks that guy if he can get into that coal mine. Osamu suddenly steps forward and declares that he'll be the one to take down the monster. The shopkeeper freezes in shock, unable to believe what he's hearing. Messiah quietly confirms that Osamu does have a role in this world, and Osamu takes that as his answer. Osamu reflects on how this world was originally just an open-world game where players endlessly leveled up to fight stronger enemies. But now that he's here for real, something feels different. For the first time in ages, he realizes he can actually help someone else. If his purpose after reincarnating is to defeat monsters, then he refuses to keep living like a hollow shell. Standing inside the empty shop, Osamu admits he wants to save people, no matter how strange he looks doing it. The shopkeeper stares at him in disbelief, while Messiah watches quietly. Osamu and Messiah arrive at the sealed entrance of the Bifrost Mine dungeon. Inside the cave, a small monster suddenly charges toward them. Without hesitation, Osamu moves first, activating his ability and instantly wiping it out in a burst of light. Thanks to the shop owner's directions, they manage to reach the dungeon without getting lost. As they move deeper, Osamu casually explains that his level keeps increasing automatically because of his skill. Messiah notices he barely even reacts to leveling up anymore. Still, she thanks him for helping her try to save Jarvis, calling him strange in her own way. Osamu gives an awkward smile while Messiah steps closer, placing her trust in him and reminding him she's counting on him. Osamu then brings up her building ability, knowing they'll need it inside the mine. As they move deeper into the mine, Messiah explains that she can provide support while Osamu handles the fighting. Suddenly, a strange metallic sound echoes through the tunnel. Both of them freeze, realizing something is moving ahead. Osamu quickly steps forward, sensing danger. They discover a frightened elf girl collapsed on the ground inside the cave. She's shaking badly, her staff lying beside her, clearly overwhelmed by fear. Osamu and Messiah approach carefully. Osamu notices right away that she's an elf, and Messiah looks just as surprised. Startled by their presence, the elf panics and clings to Osamu, barely able to speak. She explains that she's extremely shy around people, which only makes the moment more awkward. Messiah watches quietly, trying to understand why the girl feels safe with Osamu so quickly. The elf finally opens up, explaining that she's terrible around crowds and has been hiding inside the cave for a long time. Messiah introduces herself and Osamu does the same. The elf reveals her name is Reese and admits she was exiled from her village. She's been using this place as a shelter. Still, she says the people of Jarvis once treated her kindly, which is why she wants to help save the city this time. Messiah grows quiet as Reese talks about saints and how she believed one would come to save Jarvis. Reese explains that ever since she was small, she'd been told that when things became desperate, the saint would appear. That belief is what kept her praying inside the cave, hoping the city would be rescued. Osamu listens carefully, then calmly explains their real goal. They're here to defeat the monster that's taken over the mine. Messiah stands beside him, agreeing. Osamu suggests it would be safer if they handle it themselves, surprising Reese. The moment settles in as Reese realizes help has finally arrived, just not in the way she imagined. Reese suddenly gathers her courage and offers to guide Osamu and Messiah to the boss, even admitting she's weak in combat and her magic isn't much help. Messiah gives her a blunt look, clearly unimpressed by how casually Reese says it. Before Reese can take another step, Osamu notices something ahead. It seems they won't need a guide after all. Deep inside the mine, the source of the danger finally reveals itself. A massive mechanical monster emerges from the shadows, towering over Osamu. The sudden appearance throws everyone into panic. As the machine activates, violent air pressure and debris burst outward. Osamu instinctively shields Messiah and Reese while being blasted back, realizing too late just how overwhelming this enemy really is. Osamu realizes that just before the attack hit them, his auto skill activated, barely managing to alter the strike's path. Even so, it wasn't enough to stop the damage. Assessing the situation, he understands that at his current level, all he can really do is avoid the monster's attacks. As Messiah calls out to him, Osamu struggles to steady himself, unsure how to turn this fight around. Seeing Osamu cornered, Messiah steps forward and activates her support ability, temporarily amplifying his auto skill. A warm light surrounds Osamu as the boost takes effect. The sudden surge of power surprises him, but it also brings a sense of reassurance. He's no longer facing this alone. Messiah urges him to try attacking once more. The strengthened energy wraps around Osamu, filling him with resolve. Gripping onto that feeling, he charges forward. Using the enhanced auto skill, he launches a direct assault on the massive machine, slamming into its armored body and finally landing a solid hit. Osamu's empowered strike fails to leave a mark on the massive machine, and the realization hits hard. Its armor is far thicker than he expected. As debris scatters around him, panic sets in, but he forces himself to think. There has to be some kind of weak point. Reese quickly analyzes the situation and spots an opening beneath the machine. She calls out to Osamu, explaining that the armor is thinner from below. Even though charging straight under it is extremely dangerous, Osamu locks onto the idea, knowing this may be their only chance. With no time left to hesitate, Osamu breaks into a sprint. Ignoring the chaos around him and the danger overhead, he dives straight toward the machine's underside, committing fully to Reese's plan. As Osamu moves in, Messiah realizes his physical abilities have sharply improved, likely from leveling up mid-battle. Messiah watches in shock as Osamu pushes himself faster and harder than before. Osamu reaches the underside and unleashes a concentrated barrage powered by his boosted auto skill. The attacks tear into the weaker armor, explosions ripping across the machine's lower body as its internal systems begin to destabilize. The damage spreads rapidly through the mechanical giant. Warning signals trigger inside its core, and moments later the system initiates an emergency shutdown. The massive robot staggers, its movements slowing as the fight finally turns in Osamu's favor. With one final surge, the machine fully powers down. The echoes of the battle fade through the mine as Osamu finally lowers his guard. Reese rushes forward in relief, overwhelmed by emotion, while Messiah watches quietly from behind. The danger has passed. Reese and Messiah walk up to Osamu, both clearly moved by what he accomplished. Reese praises him sincerely, her admiration obvious, while Osamu stands there stunned, still processing everything that just happened. As calm settles over the cave, Osamu reflects on the moment, realizing that being acknowledged like this doesn't feel bad at all. The scene shifts outward, revealing the peaceful city they protected, Phrygia, the city of flowers, now safe once more. Elsewhere, inside a quiet church, a mysterious girl rushes forward in desperation. Staring up at the saint's statue, she clasps her hands in prayer, convinced she must find him quickly. Fear fills her eyes as she senses something terrible approaching, believing that if things continue this way, the entire world could be destroyed.